Miss Nancy Ampofo Esquire, a distinguished senior lawyer. The J.E.A. Mills Memorial Heritage is working to inculcate the values and principles that President John Evans Atta Mills stood for into the Ghanaian society. The Memorial Heritage Advisory Council is made up of 15 eminent personalities. It is chaired, as I've indicated, by Togbi Afede XIV, Agbobo Mafia of the Asogli State of the Volta region. The vice chairperson is Dr. Esther Ofe-Abuaji, former director of the Institute of Local Government Studies. The other advisory board council members are Dr. Kadman Atta Mills, brother of the president of John Evans Atta Mills and former World Bank official, Mr. Kwame Pienim, development economist and elder statesman, Honorable Alhaji Mohammed Mumuni, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. John Henry Marte Newman, Chief of Staff to President John Evans Atta Mills, Na Ahassan Andani, former Chief Executive of Stanbic Bank, E.M. Commodore Mensah, businessman and former CEO of Accra Hearts of Oak, His Excellency James Babaku Mensah, Secretary to President John Evans Atta Mills and former Ambassador to the Vatican, Mr. Kweku Bram-Labi, private legal practitioner and personal lawyer to President John Evans Atta Mills, Professor Agnes Atia Apusiga, Associate Professor, Dean, Faculty Service, UDS, Alhaji Ahmed Vanderpoy, businessman, Dr. Abna Oye Champo, Managing Partner, Talentia Africa Limited. Miss Kate Quote-Papafio is an entrepreneur, co-founder, managing editor of Leroy Cables Company Limited. Mrs. Marufatu Abiola Bawa is the director of the regional cluster of 19 countries of the United Bank of Africa, UBA. The NDC party, in collaboration with the John Evans Atta Mills Memorial Heritage, will commemorate the exact date on which President John Evans Atta Mills died, the 24th of July 2024, next Wednesday, with a wreath-laying ceremony at the Asumdre Park, where his remains are interred at 9 a.m. prompt. All are duly invited. It is always a solemn ceremony which ignites the loss we have suffered as a nation with the passing of this true patriot. Dress code, black and white. On Saturday, the 27th of July 2024, 8:30 a.m. at the Theodosia Oka Stadium in Accra, the President of Evans Atta Mills hockey tournament will take place to climax the 12th anniversary celebrations. As part of the 10th anniversary celebrations, lectures were held in all the 16 regions of Ghana in 5 clusters. All the lectures have now been compiled in a book titled Atta Mills Around the Regions. The book will be reviewed and launched today by Professor Ransford Jampo of the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana, who is also the president of the Ghana branch of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG. The first few copies will be duly auctioned in the program. At this juncture, let me take the opportunity on behalf of the board and the Advisory Council to thank the Planning Committee. To mention a few, and in no particular order: Emilia Atta, Eric Osei-Owusu, Sylvanus Tamaklo, Kwame Pepra, Ludwig Lodger, Kwamina Ahoy, Kofi Totobi Kwachi, Kwesi Ahoy, Ni Jangba Vanderpoy, Ni Lante Vanderpoy, Daniela Matthias, and Atu Ahoy. This list is far from exhaustive, but due to time constraints, I plead for forgiveness if I have left your name out. We take this opportunity to thank the numerous philanthropic donors whose actions have made these events a success now and over the years. Special mention is made of the input of His Excellency John Dram, Prof. Jane Opo Ajiman, Right Honorable Speaker of Honorable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, and the Minority Caucus of Parliament, This list is also. We extend our deep appreciation to Nadu Ernestina Mills, wife of President Mills, for her continuous support of our activities. Thanks to one and all for continuing with us on our journey of ensuring that the legacy of this great icon of our land endures forever. God bless us all.
Thank you very much, Honorable Alex Sebefia. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, pretty shortly we'll be seeing a documentary on stage, but prior to that, we'll call on gramophone chorus to lead us in the Methodist hymn number 511, Begone Unbelief. This will be the documentary, please. Begone unbelief, If the documentary is ready, shall we please see it now? Well, we can always go back to it in the absence of it. I'd like to introduce you to this gentleman. At the 10th edition of this very celebration or commemoration, on my wall on Facebook, I got a lot of questions about the way the gentleman speaks, the way he selects his words. Right. We'll look at the documentary.
We are hopeful. God is on our side. We are going to make it, but we need to make it earlier than everybody expects. And we need to lay the proper foundation for us to be able to take off. The signs are good, but we need to work together as a team.
Born in Tawa, the date was 21st of July, 1944, a Friday when John Evans Atta Mills made his entry into the world. He launched his secondary school education at the Achimota College, where he obtained his advanced level certificate.
From class 1 to form 3 now for secondary school. Why should be out better? No class was that's a little one.
Determined to climb higher in his formal education, he enrolled at the University of Ghana, where he emerged with a bachelor's degree and professional certificate in law. That was just part of what was to become a colorful journey to the apex of the academic ladder. He earned a PhD in law from the prestigious School of Oriental and African Studies in London. With such academic stature, Professor Mills was selected as a Fulbright scholar at the equally prestigious Stanford Law School in the United States of America.
President Mills of Ghana,
I'm here to commend you because we also get reports of the good ones among you who are standing up for their rights. Please enforce the law without any fear or favor.
His formal assignment as a lecturer began with the law faculty of the University of Ghana, where he spent close to 20 years molding and imparting knowledge to students. At 27, John Evans Atta Mills was awarded his PhD after he successfully defended his doctoral thesis in the area of taxation and economic development, thus becoming a colossus in tax law.
Indeed, the records clearly show that the rate of economic growth in 2011 was the highest in the history of our dear nation.
You understand those issues and you appreciate the value of the good fiscal policies that have to be put in place. We are certainly very pleased under the program that Ghana has with the IMF, and we are extremely satisfied that progress, very good progress, is being made and will continue through 2012.
With an inherent calm and sober trait, Professor Mills stood out as a unique personality amongst his peers, both professionally and socially. His calm demeanor earned him the accolade Asumdwehene, literally meaning King of Peace, during his political career. Little was known about his political life until he was nominated by the then flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, the late Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, to become his running mate in the 1996 general elections of Ghana. He was eventually sworn in as the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana after the National Democratic Congress won the elections. He was to become the flag bearer of his party after the exit of President Rawlings, and after 2 unsuccessful shots at the presidency, he eventually had his chance when he won the 2008 general elections and was sworn into the highest office of the land. His unfaltering path in the political discourse of the country, and even his political opponents could not help but admire him.
It was amazing to deal with a man who was so transparently honest. And there are many stories which have not been told before. I mean, soon after Professor Mills won elections, one of his friends went to him and offered him a house. And he told me this story himself. And the professor asked his friend if he didn't see all the poor people begging in the streets, and why he had bypassed all of them to come and offer him a house. And he said, look, I already have 2 houses, and painting those houses every year is such a huge problem for me. An additional house will be too much of a headache for me, so we'll keep your house or give it to poor people. This was Professor Mills.
Professor Mills's presidency did not only introduce a paradigm shift in the governance style of the country, but saw the introduction of the younger generation into governance. Notable amongst them were Kujetu Ablapa, Edward Omanubuama, James Hajini Boateng, Neil Vanderpoel, and a host of others. Professor Mills's decency and humility in power was pervasive. He became the new face of our political discourse. 24th of July, 2012. A dark cloud overwhelms the country when news of his passing broke.
And it's 20 minutes past 4 here on Joy 99.7 FM.
Announced His Excellency President of the Professor John Evans Atta Mills.
The country has been thrown into a state of shock following reports that the
President of the Republic passed away at the military hospital here in Accra following a very short. Me free from the roof here, na me saw TV. Me saw TV na me say breaking news. Almost say President Mills have.
I was at home when I heard the news.
See, number agreement.
I'm not sure.
Number 1 million.
It was an occurrence which brought the country to a virtuous standstill. His demise was unique in that he happened to have been the only president of Ghana to have died in office. Though he might have left the physical world, his imprints are palpable and remain indelible in every corner of the country.
I remember any time we talked about corruption and whatnot, and he would ask me in Santi, Commodore, misguided.
Professor Mills was a very mortal person. And that sense of mortality, of course, drew him deeply into the arms of God, upon whom he relied immensely, almost to a fault, at every turn in his career as a politician. Short though that career was, it stamped a record in the books of history of this country. The president came who was not an arrogant man, who did not desire all the material things of this world, who did not even covet the power that went with his office, and used it only for the infinite good for this country.
More and more his legacy will be around him as a person. His empathy towards people, his decency, his extreme honesty. In fact, sometimes I used to call him brutally honest.
Indeed, it's far easier to remember Atta Mills for all that is good and upright than to recollect any memories of deficiencies or shortfalls that might have crept into his snow-white track record.
All right, so please stand by the documentary on the Atta Mills Memorial Heritage. If you have that one, please stand it by. I don't want to bore you too much. Let me invite the gentleman here. Enjoy the way he talks. Please, let's welcome Dr. Cadman Mills.
Her Ladyship, Madam Chair, the Speaker of Parliament, Alan Bagman, former President of the Republic of Ghana, and flag bearer of the NDC, my little sister, Nana Jane Opokwajiman, also flag bearer, not flag bearer, but vice presidential candidate for the NDC. And from here on, please let me stand on existing protocol. But I'll make a slight exception and recognize one or two of Fifi's collaborators. First among them, the Minister of Finance, Dr. Kwabena Dufour, who is sitting here, and who, unfortunately, I haven't heard mention of him. And then the Agbomefia of the Asogli State, who was a member of the Economic Advisory Council, one of the very important institutions that was set up under Fifi. I am a Democrat, and before I came, I consulted all the members of the family, and I asked them what I should say. And the only thing that they told me I should say is to thank members of the Atta Mills Memorial Heritage who do a yeoman's job in keeping his memory alive. So that is the first I would say, and thank you all for being here. Now, anyone who knows me knows that every year I lobby and lobby and lobby to be the main speaker at this function. And every year I'm overlooked. And somebody else is selected. And therefore, I take my revenge. As much. So, Casey, you're warned. Now, out that it was going to be Kwesi Pratt to give the lecture, I told my friends in the US, oh, I know him very well. Then I thought, how do I know him? Then I all of a sudden realized that I thought I knew him very well because I saw him on TV. And sometimes I hear, so I listened to G and Alaji, but I didn't know very much of anything about him. So I went out of my way to try and find out about the person who was supposed to give a lecture in the name of my brother. I saw him fighting with a young man at a show, and where he announced his age. he decided that he couldn't attend demonstrations because he was too old. And how old was he? 71 years old? I said, but that is not even my claim. And therefore I can afford to give him some advice. So, Chrissy, I have only 3 advice to give you. And I hope you take notes. The first one is that this is not about Fifi's thesis. I hear you've made yourself into a one-member thesis committee where you evaluate thesis on economics. Fifi wasn't an economist, even though his thesis topic was taxation and economic development. So it's a no-go area. Don't touch his thesis. And by the way, next time, don't bother reading those theses, right? We have a rule of thumb. If a thesis is written within the first 3 years, after the comprehensive exam or after the master's degree, you know it's a good thesis. The candidate is very fresh, his analytical skills are up to speed, he's on top of the literature, and it's usually a reasonably solid thesis. Between 3 and 5, you're scratching it. But beyond 6, it's probably a thesis which was accepted out of charity and out of mercy. Don't bother reading it. The advice that I'll give you, Chrissy, don't make an ideologue of him. In fact, I never heard Fifi say anything ideological. Sometimes even my so-called socialist friends and I, those who had evolved with the Dar es Salaam school, and of course I was teaching at UN Institute for Development and Planning, where Samir Amin, one of the foremost African socialists, taught there. We used to look at Fifi and call him sometimes a reactionary. He never said a word about dialectical materialism, even though he went to Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute. I never heard him mention the word conscientism. Of course, he wasn't enamored by capitalism as a social formation, and we used to laugh at him. But it turned out, as her ladyship said, Fifi, even though he was not an ideologue, was a very kind person. He was a good person. He was an empathetic person. He could not see suffering and not do something about it. He could not see injustice and not do something about it. And he was somebody that believed that for what he does for the underprivileged to be attainable, you also have to transform institutions and make sure that indeed it's attainable. I was not surprised, therefore, that he championed the Constitutional Review Commission because he felt very strongly that so much power concentrated in the hands of one person, the imperial presidency, as I call it, could be misused. Not that it will, but it could be. And to avoid that, therefore, you have to change it. Madam Chair, I think Fifi taught you not just law, he also taught you empathy. I saw you sitting and demonstrating with people of my age who all of a sudden were receiving haircuts, even though their hairs were quite short. You were holding a placard, and I have to be honest, you shamed me to become more active and more vocal. At my age, therefore, I am on social media every day, fighting with the youth, trying to convince them that we need to do better and we need to reform our government. One last advice to you, Kwesi. Please don't canonize Fifi. I hear there is a process in place where Fifi has already passed the first test of canonization. He has produced miracles. 12 years after his death, he's actually writing forewords to books which are being published. That's not acceptable. In fact, I thought I was going to go at the book launch that is supposed to take place very soon and put a stop to it. Because actually it's very creepy. It is indeed unacceptable. Our family can accept everything, but what we can't accept is Saint Fifi in our midst. We can never live it down. So, Kwesi, I have told you the 3 areas that you can't touch. Now, if there's anything left, then good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cadman Mills. I told you will enjoy the gentleman. Of the many messages that I received, 2 were very clear to me, and I agreed to them. One said he spoke, and I'm talking about that 10th anniversary commemoration. He spoke like Kenneth Darcy, the late Kenneth Darcy, the UNCTAD boss. That is a UN Undersecretary for Trade and Development. And then he was also speaking, I don't know the age of the person who made the remark, but he said he was also speaking like their teachers and professors when they were young. Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for him. Right, gramophone chorus is returned again. Respectfully will rise for Yenara Assassini.
Thomason.
press. Aja, me de kutusre me bompaye. Mosta ija me bonkaye. Untonko na una yedie hibia beya maye. Umi afanyo mega. Yentendi no fuani uwaje. No pay as if you are pay. Masaya no pay. Mpabwa mi bani say. Adumure mi hauni say. Chema nusu biaso. Masaya no pay. Mpabwa mi bani say. Adumure mi hauni say.
Changing lives, transforming Ghana.
Oh, live on TV as well as and also on Power 97.9 FM, the hottest and the biggest conversation in Ghana inside politics in the different studio. Our 37 Abebeso Street, in all the 16 regions across the country. Facebook Live, Power 97 TV as well as at Ghana. Samsung on YouTube, as well as broadcasting. Yaduko PMO Legon. And His Excellency John Dramani Mahama Nimpenifo Bibri na akopie ho NDC ye running mate mame Professor Nana Jino Pokwajiman and Nimpenifo Kukudan Kwesi Prat ne party ma ene yan campaign team penifo mu nyina no o makopie mo ewo ho a ene yi chese president miss ye kai no mfie edumienu a woto a eye nananom onsero nti lecture akese pa na ekoso ewo eye legon ho na ye twen se main speaker no ye Kwesi Prat was started the inside newspaper on editor in chief yebekwa ne akwa no edi bibia nso edi abremo na yabo eye organizers no so abaso papa ne MC of the day no so airborne homode ewo ho His Excellency John Dramani Mahama na campaign team no wo mo edi press release bia ba ni nyina no eye aye debate a eja aye for air call for ne mom no enya ade so mutumi contact eye His Excellency John Dramani Mahama na campaign team no anu maba bonten issue statement say debate e because see na ensem no eba ye no His Excellency John Dramani Mahama campaign team no at the statement aba abontina wo mo etre say enye ade a ayefoi wo mo obuo eni anidie edema NDC as a political party in Ghana na ensem no Joyce Mutare ba wana Sasha Krata na se watutu bi edi amane eye ayefoi John Mahama ne campaign team ewie ya wo mo the statement aba abontina efa eye NDC parliamentary candidates awodo ne John His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ne posters ene ne billboards a timamufuo bi MPP fuo bi etutu SN no omo de kokobo kese pa ene de ama MPP amonyoko no ni nyina ye nsema wodo a ye de ebro Malik Basantali enrade na chese wotete papa ye friend Sachina eye Sisala East MP wasaye deputy minister eye sanitation wotete bi de manena na chese wankasankasa bonse ni jano she papa ne papa ni nyina efa eye papa yin makokan ye ewo Good Morning Ghana Dr. Randy Abi show so say His Excellency John Dramani Mahama atoto aban ensa ase ne no ena eye Dr. Randy Abi ibowure ma otumi ema eye sa eye minister na MP so ontwe ensa kodu ba bi ma minister no ni sema no wakanyina no na eye atro na nayi Malik Basantali say sa papa ye friend say ye china no obeko jail pe na nyina ne say watoto aban ensa ase yes ka bia no wasenka eko eye na ifina so ye koye adwuma abra na eja ye he planting for food and jobs ni ses kan nyina no wo da bete ye ya anko ehon nsam nyina ne evidence nyina no o produce ye ewo GH1 show no so se watie mo ye dan ho aba ye ba ye de se no nkire mo nyina ebe mamo very well some akwaba ediba eye power any TV SWAZ so and nay eye Malik Basantali watimia aspozu eye member of parliament for Sisala East ewo eye Ghana House eye deputy minister of air sanitation na ensem nyina no etre say atra papa your friends channel NM TV any radio stations awodo a wodi etia eye His Excellency John Dramani Mahama any NDC amonyoko no eye ade say enso ani kra chese e shebufuo pa say NDC ma no ewe sade na shebufuo yeti ensem a Malik Basantali abra okowura eye GH1 TV na chese yenu aba say wa na tie eye agwam yeti ne yekoso ewo
set John Dramani Mahama sold more state assets than this government. Even the bungalow he lived in as vice president, when he was living, he wrote for that bungalow to be given to him. He bought state lands.
Who bought state lands? Who bought state lands?
Look, I beg.
I'm asking a question. China, who bought state lands?
Officers of the NDC. Officers of the NDC. They bought a lot of, including former President Mahama.
He bought state land.
Yes.
Where?
Check. You check it. All of them.
Where?
let me continue.
A few moments later.
Usually we discuss people when they are not on set, right? Today the corporate is on set, so I will discuss it here. And I'll give you every document, unlike he denied. Honorable China was deputy minister. Yesterday I heard him ranting on Good Morning Ghana 2 days ago. That President Mahama bought this, President Mahama bought that, bought the state land. When he was asked to prove, he failed to do so. But little did he know that he himself has been a corporate so long as the dissipation of state property is concerned. As we speak now, his radio station is on a land in Tumu. That land was a government land. It belonged to the local assembly. His radio station is there. How did he acquire that land? Number two, close to the stadium in Tumu is government land. As we speak now, he's putting up a filling station there. How did he acquire that land? State land. Yet he sat on TV and was mentioning President Mohammed's name as if that was even true. Meanwhile, you have been acquiring state property. The land where you stayed, the property you stayed as deputy minister in Wa, the land just next to it, he's acquired it. How did he get it? State property at a residential area is now in his name, Chinia. As if that was not enough, I'm going to teach you proper state capture. His brother went to form a company, and the company is called Bawurese. If you can correct me, you know the name. Batuawese, very good, he knows it. Batuawese, his brother, direct brother, is also called Chinia, Baka Chinia also. You know the name, what's your brother's name? Baka Chinia. His driver was also part to form that company. His brother is called Abdel Bazak Chinia. His driver is called Dimbie Yahya. And his direct cousin is called Olatunji Amuda. They formed a company called Batuawese. Came to him as deputy minister, together with his minister at the ministry. And he awarded a contract, a road contract worth 12 million to his own brother. They captured all the projects in Tumu, Sesala, his constituency, and decided to execute it as one family, as if we didn't have contractors in Tumu. What saddened my heart, Sewa, is that after the awarding of contracts to his own brother, which sparks traces of conflict of interest and to a larger extent massive corruption, they took mobilization and failed to do the work. As we speak today, that road has been abandoned in his own constituency. So I kept saying that, look, if you even want to be wicked to your own constituency, at least if you want to engage in family and friends, if you want to be corrupt in your own society, you should take the contract and execute it. You don't take it and leave it. Today your people are struggling, your own constituency. Are you happy, Mr. MP? As if that was not enough. They went to the Ministry of Agric. I'm going to teach you state capture. And they went and took goods, farm inputs worth I think 3-4 million. Farm inputs worth 4 million. They brought the farm inputs, smuggled half a number to foreign countries. Fertilizers were smuggled under the Planting for Food and Jobs. The minister then of Agric cautioned him that, look, the rate at which they were smuggling fertilizer to neighboring countries was high. And the amount of money. Cautioned who? Cautioned him as deputy minister. It is in a letter. I'll give it to you, don't worry. Yeah. I brought all facts. You can take these two. And then 1, 2. Today we'll talk about state capture. The third one, they took farm inputs and they smuggled half. The amount that was used and paid for was 1.3 million. I read a letter that was written to his minister to tell him as deputy minister to pay the balance they were owing to government. The letter says, under the Planting for Food and Jobs campaign, outgrower scheme, operators and commercial farmers were allowed to access farm inputs. So farm inputs that were meant for his constituents, he alone went and collected them and denied his constituents access to these farm inputs. Now listen carefully. Batuawese Company Limited, owned by the deputy regional minister, so are you listening? He was deputy minister of the Upper West region, is the company that accessed farm inputs under the campaign in 2017. Per the arrangement, the company paid only 50% and they refused to pay the other 50%. This is the letter. So Chinia did not only buy state lands in Tumu, he did not only buy state lands in Wa, he further took farm inputs that belonged to his own society. I am saying all this because he was first to be ranting on TV that this person bought this state land, that person bought this state land. I haven't spoken about the exposés of the Honorable Okujuato Ablakwa. I'm only speaking directly about the exposés of a man in this studio who has decided to bath himself with gross corruption, who has decided to siphon properties and funds that were meant for his constituents, and who has decided to, expose himself. And so when I sit here and say Chinia will go to jail, it was not only because of the two things I had counted. It was because of these numerous things that not only him will be prosecuted when NDC comes, his brother will go to jail, his driver who has siphoned all these funds will also go to jail. So
a few moments later.
Then now, where your land, your radio station is?
To me, the land he refers to are government lands. Where he's talking about the station, the radio station and the filling station. They are government lands. We bought them. Yes.
Please, Malik, hold on. Let's go.
And I am saying that today it is not a crime. Okay. If it is a crime, Malik should let me know. Where did I say that?
Oh wow!
I have never said that.
Wow!
By state land. Okay. I have said this over and over, even on this station. Okay. That it is not a crime, but
very well. So why we dey mebo abaso? Why you adwuma ni nyina? Abo adwuma no as a host. Afi the Ghana for mo. Fertilizers ni niam yourself akoma sala issue for no. What divert it? Ti sala issue for. Se mu tie mi a we mo MP no chiana. We ye nipa bonefo papa wo samoto abetia no. Motoma NDC candidate na wo no. We mu pam no kura free wo oye barawi. Kronfo tachi amwa. Niam yesi amfam na mo no. What divert it? Krata aye agric minister twere kwa wone no krata no Malik Basantali odini nyina ba as an evidence afede waje atum se wato aban japade wo power wato aban japade wo de ne evidence won wasan waje atum se yes o meye deputy minister of aye Western region any sanitation na de adwuma na we de Malik aka kire wa ne se ba be prosecute wo be ko jail to wo jail bon ho udu sanwama na watwe wani ahwe right ho na say ho bon ho ubiko jail said eye Malik Basantali aka akire won na eneyi yenua gifa gunu e de nsem bia ba betu dwa ni nyina efa eye Excellency John Dramani Mahama Bay Boss eni NDC fu a wobeti eye Kasua aye awutu Senya East yakwa akutu na akoyo yakose ni process wobeti eye Okan Kwesaf yese eye yenua Nes Adomako dodo na afre Keynote yakwa akotete ni posters sa Jimmy Sam no koso MB before minim de tia wo mu ye sa Jimmy Sam we wodwene ho a Rabna Oben ni poster eyi ne ba we ne billboard si ho na MPP for de wo mu di akosi animu enne His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ne campaign team no wo mu di statement ayeden aba e de kokobo kase pa na de ama MPP amonyoku se wo ye be chiw se wutu NDC eye se wotiti poster ana se eye criminal offense se obi bebe sina de na wo no obekwa akotu na wodi wodi asi wa na se obekwa akose no omu de sika ene ebo kai esa de no Jimmy ni do so dodo my so desperate power mobile be lusu my so desperate na eye me de se Ghana eye nya deputy IGP se o meye operations inti opanyi yohunu wadwuma ni bi eno no asate mu make sure say mu ntena ho entwen emma bibi nsi ansa MB before na yes ade no me hu se bi siye ewo nsabane ne mpatamu eze mankron amodie ya chi wo mo ede wo makokọ se wo makotu MPP candidate ho no makotu eye ni billboard and the court to afine wo mo ya mo bill yese omonko no mo sa kosi sa billboard na mo ye den wo mo kotu ye no eno nya ndisi fo ne kotutu ye o eno kwa de se na nanem ahemfo se ho no mo de ba beye project bi iti mo mfa sa billboard ne ensi ho mo ma nti no mo siye candidate ni mo kochi ahemfo no we de ye to se okoto se obi abodwe se hia no wasansuo asi wo de ho ye betie eye gifa guno ne mom no ye fa ye ni kire eye legon ni ye kwere de ekoso ewo President Miss eye ne 12 eye lecture no memorial lecture no ye kwere de ekoso ho ye ba yɛbɛsan aba bɛto asɛn sɛ ne kɔdwe yɛboa wɔ ha ana Charles Makati nso ɛwɔ ha